So I'm incredibly honored to be here. This is my first 3% conference. Thank you. And I've just been learning so much. Everything's been so enlightening and informative. In a time where everything is so divisive within our country and around the world, we really wanted to talk about how we're managing our teams internally. So today, we're going to talk about unity and camaraderie. But first, before we get started, I want to start off with introductions. So Della, I'll let you go ahead.
Hi, I'm Della Mathew. I'm a group creative director at Ogilvy in New York.
Hi there. I'm Tracie Roberson. I'm a senior copywriter at Burnett. But wait, hey girl. Hey, I have two secrets to share about myself. The first secret, because I want to be relatable to you guys and stuff. First secret is I wore this shirt yesterday. Don't worry about it. Don't judge me. Judge me on your own time. The second,
I'm judging you right now.
My second secret is I wore these pants yesterday.
No, wait. You gotta give him the full. Thank you. Hey y'all, I'm Shannon, Washington. Hi. I am a senior. Senior SVP. That's what it's called. Creative director at Deutsch. I've been there since June. Before that, I was at Droga 5 as a CD. So hello.
Welcome. And Tracie, that's brand consistency. Right?
It is very brand, very on brand for Tracie.
So to start out, just a little get to know you. Tell us a bit about, we talked about themes, that reflect your career. Tell us about some themes and your journey into the advertising industry.
Yep, okay. So my journey, I started with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I actually never went to portfolio school. I started working at a design firm right out of college, and then transitioned from there into advertising. And I'm actually from the Midwest here, and I worked at a great agency, a small agency here, and really was the person that was like spray mounting the ads onto boards for presentations. So kind of said yes to everything. I was at work at all hours. So really kind of learned the craft and trade of advertising and art direction through that journey. And then I moved to New York, and then obviously, became an art director and then moved up the ranks. But some of the themes for me is, some of the themes were that I was a late bloomer. I was really kind of lost. I, was always felt kind of invisible throughout my career. I don't think I really had a mentor that I felt comfortable with. I've worked with some amazing people, but nobody that I felt like that I really gravitated towards. So I really felt like I was a late bloomer. I had a lot of anxiety when I was younger in my career, and then, not going to portfolio school, I always felt like I was missing something. And so as I grew in my career and, found people that I felt like nourished me and allowed me to be the best that I could be, I felt like, later in my life, I felt like I've really now come into my own, and, it's great. Like it's an amazing industry. And I feel like I'm in a place now where I feel like I can be the best version of me for advertising and just myself as well.
Oh, you're so nice. For me, I did my undergrad at Southern Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi. And I majored in broadcast journalism because I had this notion I was going to be like the next Oprah. So that didn't happen. But I knew that I wanted to do something creative. So I I went to the Creative Circus in Atlanta. Okay. But I started kind of late because I was trying to do this broadcasting thing. So I was kind of older than everybody there. One of the themes that I think that has stuck with me throughout this whole thing is sort of a little bit of confidence through my naivete. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know all the ad people. I don't know who to be nervous around speaking to. One time I used to work at RGA New York, And I was speaking to Bob Greenberg. I had no idea who I was talking to. I was just like, hey, dude, what's going on? How you doing? And everybody was like, you just talked to Bob. Like, I was like, oh, okay. He asked me about my outfit. So I think that's just one of the things. My path was sort of after ad school. I literally started at RGA in New York. I was an intern, then a junior, then a mid-level, then a senior, all at the same agency. And I was telling these lovely ladies that I had never, ever in my life met a real life Black female creative director.
Black and brown.
Black and brown, never. Look, I'm touching them, y'all, they real. That's crazy. So I had always had this like notion, this notion that I was just gonna stay a senior copywriter. I've been a senior copywriter for like 5 years, kind of by design. I didn't want to make that next step, almost because I was like, I don't want to lose the creativity that I'm doing on a daily basis. I don't want to be in client meetings all day. I don't want to schmooze with people and stuff like that. I just wanted to like do the work. But now I kind of feel like an obligation and a drive and a passion and a push to be a Black female creative director so that people under me don't have to say, they can say, I'm real, right? So yeah, that's me.
Wow, so themes. If I had to off the top, like you just put me on the spot as a creative director, so now like I feel like my theme has to be like really, really dope. I think for me, it's been like, if I were to put two words together, it would be fearless and ambidextrous. I came into this industry, I did not go to portfolio school. I actually went into Howard University in the pre-med program. I am an HBCU grad. I'm a proud Bison, HU, you know, if anybody's here. But yeah, I came in at Howard hoping to walk out with a medical degree, and I walked out with a double degree in photography and design. No matter what, and after that, you know, starting in this industry, and I kind of like stepped into it because I came from hip hop and publishing. I did album covers, I designed books, I designed magazines and things of that nature, and then someone was like, wait, you should work for this like marketing place. And I was like, okay, marketing, whatever, I can design anything. And that's why I say like a fearless ambidexterity, because no matter what, even if I was wrong, I knew I was good. I was able to, you know, put things together in a way where I said, I have no idea what I want to do. I have no idea what advertising is, but I know how to reach people. I know how to design things that reach people. I know how to build concepts and create rather things that move people, because I've seen, you know, layouts that I've designed do that. I've seen video treatments that I've like literally came up with on the train actually come to life. And it's crazy to think that I get paid for my imagination. But I think that the one thing that has got me through a lot of it is the fact that I've always been like, okay, you tell me no now, but I'm gonna come back for you. I don't know when, but I'm gonna do it. And it was just one of those things where I was just like, you know, I realized that so much was against me in this industry, but no one could take away my creativity. And so that's the one thing that I've been like, I'm fearless about, and just like wielding that and knowing what that is capable of. But also I think coming from the music industry really did prepare me to work in advertising really well. It's very similar in the sense of issues of sex and race and gender and politics and things of that nature. And so by the time I got into advertising, I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, I got this.
So y'all all come from unique backgrounds. You had, you know, unique paths into the industry. So you've seen a shift in the team makeup. You've seen a lot. And so growing up into the industry, what would you say is a key or a few key indicators of a unified team, and what's the benefit for your clients?
I would say, and I just actually was talking about this to one of my art directors, is you know that your team is unified where people are more worried about being effective than being right. There's a tendency, I think, for us to kind of like, you know, to kind of like exist on the binary of like, no, I did it, or I was right, or I was wrong, or whatnot. And at the end of the day, I'm always like, none of us own any of this. You know what I mean? Like, this ad will not cure anything. You will not get skinnier. Your hair won't get shinier, you know, whether we get it done or not. But the best teams that I've worked on, even the ones that I'm proud to say that I've built, there is a consistent drive to make sure that our work is effective and how we're communicating is effective. And I think a lot of that has to do with how I build teams. We can get into that, but when everyone is just like, I don't know how we're gonna get to that due date, I don't know how we're gonna get there, but we're going to get there. And we're not gonna let, you know, petty shit like hold us back. We're not gonna let, you know, client goalpost moving hold us back. There's a definite like respect for the talent that people bring to the table innately, you know, and it's not, you know, it's not really based on, you know, what are they called, titles, things of that nature, but it's just like moving lockstep to get there. And a big part of that is also they know how much I support them, and I know how much that they support me. Just now, my CCO is trapped in his house in a fire. And he's not on fire. Pete is fine. But the fire is up in California right now, so he may not make a shoot that is going to be covered. I just hit up my ACDs, and they're like, no, we got you. But the fact that they're saying they have me, you know what I mean? And we say that to each other all the time. It's all right. I got you. Like, that is really one of those things that I always even tell young people to look for, like ask people about, like, what is the team dynamic like? Is it, you know, is it me or is it we?
And I would agree with that. I mean, I think for me, that camaraderie really does make the work so much better, because I think everybody, yes, they bring their specific talents to the table, but they also really bring their own points of view. And I think that is why it is so important to have such a great diverse team of, you know, different cultures, different backgrounds, just different lifestyles and different just experiences. And I do think that for me, it is very important. I mean, I have a weekly meeting with my team. We talk about status and all the regular stuff, but I really encourage them, you know, tell me things that I don't want to hear. Tell me something that might upset you about what I'm doing, somebody around you's doing, you know, and we really try to work in a way that it's really solution oriented, you know, and that all of us, you know, have each other's backs. And so if they're not talking to me, they might be talking to each other. But I am really, really proud of the kind of we atmosphere, and that everybody feels like somebody's bringing something very unique to the table. Because at the end of the day, it's a fun career, you know, and it's important to care about each other. So I think that then ends up in the work.
And we're seeing a lot of organizations like the AAF, the 4As, the One Club, they all have these initiatives that help recruit talent and get them into the door, you know, into these agencies, getting hired when 20, 30 years ago, the recruiters might not have even encountered them in the past. So they're getting hired, but a common theme, and it was a big conversation for us as well, was the issue of retention and growth. We are seeing a lot of people exit really quickly. The turnover is really high. Additionally, we're seeing agencies who aren't able to, you know, clearly explain why they're letting people go or why they're losing the talent, you know, that came in. And so what are you doing to tackle that issue of retention and growth? And what core factors do you think are impacting the exit that we're seeing with a lot of people?
I mean, for me, I think that the exit is, you know, I mean, there's a lot of factors around that, but I think opportunity. I do think in a lot of places it is very top heavy, and I think it's, you know, it's really hard to push that decision-making power down through the ranks. And I think what I try to do is, I don't care what level you're at, you have a seat at the table, and I do want your opinion. So I try to give everybody an opportunity. You I've had interns come in and, 2 months into the job, they're on a TV set shooting, and it's kind of unheard of. You obviously know that there's support behind them, but I think for me it's really, really important to be like, it's about the idea, and getting to the craft of finishing it, and dealing with clients are things that people have support to be able to get done. And also, dealing with the client and dealing with the hard stuff too. It's, my team may not all have a lot of client-facing time, but I really try to let them know what the issues are so that they also start thinking about, like, how do I solve this? How do I, what would I do in this situation? So I actually think it's really important to pass that opportunity and decision-making power down the ranks.
I think, as someone that has been at several agencies and, for a while, I feel like it's just almost, like you said, not being heard or not feeling like you're being heard. Ideas being sort of passed over, or just not feeling included into the group. As far as retention goes. As far as growth goes, I kind of feel like advertising as an industry just, it's like experience-based growth, right? So like, hey, you've been an art director for 10 years, you are now a creative director. Mm-hmm. Boom, like you should know how to manage people. And I kind of think it's weird that like the management team at Popeyes has more training.
It's true. It's true.
Am I lying? Did I lie? Where's the lie?
They go to school for chicken.
They go to a whole training, like it's a long process to learn how to, because they got communication skills, they got people skills. You got to get all these things. But in advertising,
Extra spicy.
Right, extra spicy. You got to know about the kind of meats and stuff. Listen, but in advertising, we just say, hey, you've been doing your job for a long time, so therefore you should automatically know how to manage people. And I kind of think it's like that part in the Bible. I don't read the Bible, but it's like that part in the Bible where it's like bad creative director begets another bad creative director, begets another bad creative director, begets another bad creative director.
Yes.
It's that part, that long part in the Bible, right? Because it's like you're learning from who is above you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You learn how to be a creative director, either what not to do or what to do from the people who are above you. I feel like there's something missing there.
Yeah.
There's something like an opportunity for growth. As somebody that is a senior, representing for all the seniors out there in the ACDs, like when you're on that upswing, you kind of want to do your best job. Mm-hmm. You don't want to do like the Rudy Poo job, and you know that you've had some, I'm going to speak for myself, but we've had some not so great creative direction.
They shitty.
They're shitty.
Yeah.
Come on, yes. You better manage me.
Yes.
And so I feel like that's another thing, because I feel like you shouldn't have to learn what not to do from people who are supposed to be teaching you. Mm-hmm. Like you don't go to school and they don't say at school in first grade, here's how to not solve 2 + 2. They say, here's how to solve 2 + 2. So I think we need to be learning, we need to be fostering this growth so that people feel more comfortable about making that next step.
But that speaks into something I feel like when we were talking on the phone not too long ago, when we talk about creativity, especially creativity at scale, Deutsch is a fairly kind of like medium-large agency, and that has a lot of politics in itself. There are more things that you have to think about, and one of the things that we were discussing previously is that I feel like naturally, and I'm stereotyping to an extent here, there's two, things that I feel like female creative leaders, especially female creative leaders of color, all 6 of us, bring to the table, which is the idea of you're managing from a deficit, meaning you are managing based on not necessarily how you were taught, but how you weren't taught. And that is because mentorship, my mentorship was always with men. When it was with women of color, they were in other industries. And so there was really no baseline that I was really close to. And no disrespect to the men that managed me, I learned a lot of what not to do, because going back to what you said, you know, bad creative director begets bad creative director begets. And so there's a lot of like bad behavior. And, you know, coming into it and coming in with this very layered or like say intersectional kind of like natural state of living. Like it's a word now, but I'm like, I've been living that shit forever. I curse, I'm sorry. You can walk into it and say, okay, I know it wasn't given to me. I have to go out and seek the things that I need. One of the things that I needed that I never really received was essentially how to present myself. And it wasn't until someone pulled me aside, someone who could see, you know, the fact that I was a young woman, I was a young black woman in a sea and working on these teams. And I held my own. Like I'm not a small girl. I have a naturally loud voice. I'm able to kind of like present myself, but you know, when you're standing up in front of a room of like suited guys and it's natural, you kind of like go like this, and then you think that they're not going to connect to you, so you just keep going like this, and then you're in like a yoga pose or something like that, and you're trying to like be like effective. And it wasn't until someone, you know, who could actually like cut through that and was like, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to present. And then that turned into me asking more questions about, you know, managing and things of that nature. So what we have now is, you know, I feel like there's women who are building better teams because we are a bit more aware. And I feel like women of color especially are more aware of other things to look for to create better teams. But the biggest thing when you want to talk about retention is creating a space where people want to stay.
Yep.
Like that is like the number one thing, and it starts with the team that you're on. And so this kind of all relates, believe me, I'm talking in a circle, but I got you. So when you have someone who kind of knows what, you know, who's kind of like coming from a place of, this is what I didn't learn, naturally you're gonna wanna teach that person what you didn't know, because like I like to say, sorry, if you're not better after working with me, I didn't do my job. Yeah. And so I come with everyone that works for me. What else do you want to learn? Everyone touches the set. Everyone meets the client. Before you're even considered, in my eyes, you know, especially if you're a senior in ACD and you're kind of like a middle kid, let's get you talking about business. Do you know how to even look at a budget? Do you know about, you know, billing and how to manage that? And do you know how to like get through a tough client situation? These are B school things that are not taught to anyone. And so if you have that and then you're learning from a deficit, it's kind of like you have no feet. And so I feel like it's up to us to be like the people who especially can relate to it, to say, okay, so before, yes, I know that the company wants to promote you, but someone who's willing to say, don't. Because if there's one problem that is in this industry, it is people who have been promoted way too fast and cannot manage people, cannot manage themselves, cannot communicate effectively, cannot build a team, lead a team, you know, who are just kind of like, oh, well, that's the idea, and walk away. If my team was working at 2 a.m, you best believe I stopped working at midnight. Or I'm working at 2 a.m. from my house or with them. Those are things that are taught when you are taught how to manage, and you are really, really taught effectively. And so in terms of like, I feel like I've always had like high retention on my teams because people feel like they're always consistently learning. It's definitely a meritocracy, but it's no politics, you know. I am not the smartest person at the table. One of the best leadership lessons that I ever learned was that I'm not gonna get it right. I'm not gonna be the smartest person at the table. I am not gonna have the best idea. I got like outsmarted by a junior the other day. I had to like gather myself. I was like, woo, child, that girl is smart. And, but that excites me, you know? And so when you have, I feel like when you have leaders that are willing to do that, they naturally give it back. And they create spaces where people are like, you know what, I may not like this account, I may not like this group, but I want to work with you, or I want to work with someone like you. When you don't have that and you feel like you're in the wilderness, you feel like you're invisible or whatnot, or it's just kind of like, hey, Tracie, you're a senior, so naturally you should be a creative director, and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Exactly.
That just makes for just bad creatives and bad creative. And then it doesn't do anything, especially for women in this industry, because I can't teach if I'm not confident.
But I love what you said about having the conversations with your teams.
Oh,
you know,
all
to
the time.
say, I mean, I do think that that's really important.
So
and
important.
I think it's like taking the time to know who they are personally. Like, what do they do outside of work? Like, I mean, I probably ask too many questions to my creatives, but
I'm nosy.
I want to know them as people, and I want them to feel comfortable coming to me, which is, again, teaching at a deficit. I want them to feel comfortable coming to me and asking me for things, I'm doing XYZ on the side and I would like to take this class, or I'm more interested in this. And so, I might not be able to get everything done, but it's like it's in my mind, and when I find an opportunity to do that for them, they know, I hope my team, if you're watching, know that I really, really care about them as people. So I think that was something, I've had creatives and creative directors that care about me as people, but just somebody that's really focused on my career, because that's part of my job.
Yeah.
Part of my job is I'm really a stickler about get your self-assessments done. We have to have your career conversations. It's so annoying, but I make them fill out the form. I make it super formal, which is not a very creative thing to do, like fill out the forms and submit it. But I do it because it's a moment for us to be alone and really focus on your career, the good and the bad. These are the things you need to work on. Yeah. And feel seen, absolutely.
Yeah. I'd say most recently at the agency I was last at before I started, I'm on sabbatical right now, y'all, so I'm really excited about that. Before I resigned, the team I was on, I was led by a really dynamic female GCD, Amy Ditchman. And the team all together, we make time to have sessions each month where we focus on one person on the team. They give a presentation about their passion projects, something they were really interested in. It really brought us closer as a team. The team was also super focused on making sure they set a time to check in. Like, I see, this is happening. Just want to make sure, you feel like you're progressing in the right way. So I think the biggest part is just making time. You always have time for what you want to make time for, essentially. So rolling into that, speaking of Amy, I remember my first time speaking to the client on that team, is she pushed me forward. I was working on a project and I was a freelancer, so I wasn't really expecting to speak to the client. And she's like, no, you made the work, like, come on, and you're gonna present. I was like, okay. So going into the client relationship, how do you navigate your team through building a relationship with that client and growing so they can excel and feel comfortable going to the ACD and CD levels?
I think it's definitely slow. I do have, if you did the work, I try to let you present the work. It's also having the conversation with the client too, and saying like, hey, I'm growing teams, I'm growing people, so it might not be perfect. There's a time and a place for everything, so it might not be perfect, but I want the client to also know that there is upward mobility within the teams as well, and it's good for their brand. But it is, I think it goes back to support, and if you have junior people on a set, that they know that there's support there and that they can focus on the work and having the conversations with the client, and that there's somebody backing them, and supporting them, and that, as you said, Shannon, like, I make mistakes too, I think that's important for them to see that I make mistakes, I'm not always right, and that it's okay, the sun still rises the next morning, nobody's dead, hopefully. It is showing them that, that they're always supported.
I would echo that. I think a big part is first establishing a good rapport with my client, but also, when I let them in on the process, I also let them in on the process that I have with my own creatives in terms of, making sure, one, everyone is introduced. There is no I'm not like this between me and my clients at all, or it's not just like the more senior people on my team. Everyone, there's a proper setup. They know who they are before they walk into the room, and they know that, especially more seasoned clients are more used to this, that there are different levels and people are going to be learning as we go along, especially, if I'm bringing them along on set and things of that nature. And so it's, like I said, it's the clients, and then with the teams, it's setting a really specific expectation for each level of what I expect from them. My juniors or my younger guys and girls are, you know, they know that they're more kind of like falling back, but they're going to have that opportunity to actually present. I try to make for very comfortable ways for them to present directly to the client. I'm there. Sometimes I'm, you know, chatting them, you know what I'm saying, like just like texting them, and then say this and then do this and then do that. But they have to kind of learn how to swim in a little bit of hot water, just a little bit. Whereas my more senior team members, they'll present beside me, you know, or they'll handle like certain parts. Like I can't read every script, you know, I can't set up everything. And we work more in tandem, but there's a definite process to getting, you're at the table, but when you're at the table beside me and we're sitting across from the client, there's a process to getting there, and it's very clear how to get there. I think that's really important. And then to your point, Della, seeing me fail with the client, like having a super fail, and it happens rarely, but it happens, and you know, I'm not afraid for them to see me be frustrated or to see us, you know, kind of like hit a wall, and because I want for them to learn how to get past it, and sometimes you just have to learn by going through it. I find that that's really, really effective for people at an ACD level, especially at a larger agency where, you know, you have many different types of structures, for them to kind of understand how to like untangle the knot in a few different ways. And then also to not shy that away, like this happened today. We hit this impasse, but this is how we got through it with the rest of the team. I think the days of kind of like, you know, I have the client relationship, you know what I mean? Like the old school and like, you know, you guys are just kind of here for the ride are gone. And so, and then the clients, they like to see that. Like my block client, like she loves to see when I'm teaching. I've been shooting all week and like telling them, this is what's happening, this is why that's happening, because for her, she's also like bringing up, you know, young people on her staff. And so there's a camaraderie there that we're kind of building better people together. And so that's really positive.
I think for me, I remember I was an intern. I did this work for Walmart, and I was like, yeah, it's really great. I handed it off. I just knew somebody else was gonna present it. And right before the meeting, literally I'm walking to the meeting, at the door, the creative director stops me. He goes, hey, Tracie, you're gonna present this work. You're not an intern in here. And I was like, excuse me?
Yes. And I would do that to you too.
What? And so, but here's the thing. This is gonna take a little, follow me. So what happened was I had been in other meetings and I sort of heard like presentation styles. And so what I tried to do was like emulate what I had heard in other, you know, the other way that people were presenting. And so I've found over the years that I'm most comfortable presenting when I can be my authentic self, right? I'm not very serious. I'm not a very serious, like, presenter. I'm just not that way. And when I try to be, I get super nervous because that's not really me. That's not really my jam. Like, I was in there like, hi, guys. All right, so what we're going to do first. And that's just not, you know, when I decided that I was just going to walk in, be Tracie, y'all was going to get this Tracie work, however I was gonna deliver it, that's how I became more like, you know, authentically myself, and I was less afraid to present, and you know.
But that's even important, especially you're at a senior level, because I feel like, I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like I have a rapport with everyone on my team. I have 7 people on my team. And the rapport is different, but you know, I'm never not gonna be their quote unquote boss. This is a word that I hate, but like, I'm never not gonna be their creative director. But when they see, especially at a mid-level, that happen, that is even more, and that's why it's important, I feel like, for creative leaders to set that up, because that is even more impactful for young creatives. They relate to that more. They're closer in age, they're closer in experience. You know, they think that we're all like the know-all, be-all, like we've been through it all. And I'm like, I was just shitting my pants 5 minutes ago, but you don't know that. But for them to see you do it,
Right.
you know what I mean? And then you build that style, that is even more impactful for them, which is why it's more important for us to make that happen for you.
Yeah. And I think that that's great too, because there is no one style, you know,
Right.
and I've said that before, like even with client relationships, I've talked to my team where I said, do it your way. You know, this is what I expect from you, but I don't expect you to do what, you know, ABC person is doing. Bring yourself to the game, and do it the way that you feel comfortable doing it. But this is what I expect you to do, because I do think that is when you'll probably fail less, is when you are comfortable in your own skin.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So before we roll into Q&A, we have about 8 minutes left. What would be one piece of advice that you'd give the next generation of creative leaders that are in the audience today?
For me, I would say please, please, please. Like I said, one of my themes was being a late bloomer. Please don't be invisible early in your career, because the industry needs you, the brands need you, and I think it's really, really important to find people in your community, in your agencies, that you feel like you can be your best self in. So don't be invisible. Go find that, because we're really starving for your point of view.
I would say do, be, create, live, smile. My thing is be, I don't want to use some army lingo, but be all you can be around this thing. You know what I mean? Don't try to emulate, don't try to be what you're actually seeing. Be something different, and it actually will help you stand out more from my experience. Create what you want to create what you're passionate about, find joy in your work or outside of your work, and just continue to be passionate and thrive is what I would say.
You said next creative leaders? Mm-hmm. So on the young end of that, if you're just starting, have a life, exercise, go out. Don't seriously, that is a part of your creativity. I feel like every idea that we have is a piece of our soul, and you have to cultivate that by going out and experimenting. Don't experiment too much. But come to work the next day, please. But really, really finding out who you are, and you can find that in your agency, but it really is going to come to you outside of the walls. If you're at a mid-level, and this is when things start to get a little funky, because you've been exercising, you've been following my advice, and you have a life now, but also, lean on peer mentorship. Mentorship comes in so many different ways. It is not always the person that is at the top. Half of the time, it is the person at your side that is going through it in a completely different way, and then learning from that. That is super important. That is how you're also building really, really dynamic relationships that are going to help you throughout the future. And then also, get in good with all the admins. Admins will save your life. Respect them, learn their birthdays, buy them flowers, and all of that. I'm serious. I've been in some pickles, and some admins have gotten me out of some crazy situations. At a senior level, if you're about to be at a senior level, learn the business of what you're doing. Be voracious at it. Try to be as smart, or if not smarter than, your counterparts in production and on an account side, because you're gonna have to be in that place. You're gonna have to come up with that answer, and you have to know the full well-roundedness of your business and what you're doing. And if you're a person of color especially, do not take on the responsibility of changing things. It is not your responsibility to right wrongs that were done by other people at all. That is one of the most unfair things I believe that we do to creatives of color specifically, which is put the responsibility of unlearning and changing specifically on them. I did not get us into this mess. You do not expect me to get you out. And I say that because those are the things that will stop you from being creative and actually being in the place where you have to lean and you have to actually carry people at certain times. Yeah. So it is in a 3-stage thing, but I think that when you start to get your home life together, your health life, your culture life, and then bring that in and knowing your business and being sharp. Yes, you will have to look at spreadsheets. I look at them all the fucking time. But those, in terms of retention and especially working in big agencies, I think you'll come out okay, and then like have a standing hair, nail, spa, something every month. It's a doctor's appointment on your calendar. Just make time for you.
Girl, that's a word right there, girl.
Thank you, ladies. So if you have a question, I think we have time for 2 or 3, so make it really good and amazing. Stand up,
That's like no
and the people with the little cube thingies are gonna throw them at you.
Oh, y'all cute. I'm gonna take a
I
picture.
know, I'm taking a picture too.
I think you had mentioned earlier a little bit about, Shannon, I think you mentioned about building your team, and you said you'd go into your approach and how you do that, so.
I build my teams definitely talent first, but I also like to get to know a little bit more about them outside of the work, just to see what else is. I was like, they were waving, but I don't know if y'all waving at me. Just to see what else that they bring to the table, because different clients have different needs, and so I try to be as specific and as well-rounded on that. And then I really, really do like to make sure that my team is representing who my target is. And so I work on one of the biggest brands right now that touches pretty much works on a topic that touches everyone in this room. And so I cannot have a homogenous team. I cannot have a team that just looks one way. I have to have people from different, socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnicities, races, things of that nature, because I have to make work that speaks to everyone. I cannot imagine what it is like to be a very wealthy white woman. I would love to know, but I cannot imagine what that is like. And so if I need that, I will try to bring that on my team. And so it's very nuanced in what I'm doing, but I just like to make sure that there is someone who can say something that no one else knows in the room, and hopefully teach the other people in the room. I hope I answered your question.
Stand up. Do you have a question? Oh.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
Hi.
I'm just thoroughly impressed to see all of you beautiful brown and black women on stage. I have never worked or met a black female creative lead.
Amen.
Never. So it's like unicorns happening in front of me. I feel like I just want to cry because it's amazing. It's really
Thank you. Unicorns are mythical beings, but we are very real, and we are multiplying. We are a gang. We're getting matching jackets when we're done. I appreciate you.
So my question is, where can we find you, and how can we invest in building more of you?
I would actually put that to you, Tracie, because I feel like you got that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those things that we talked about, right? It's like perpetuating that growth, fostering that growth, seeing the talent when you notice the talent when you see it, and help those people do what they have to do or become, to become the best leader that they can be, and don't let them do like I did and hold themselves back, because the potential is there. We out here.
Yeah.
As I like to say.
Yeah.
And I think it's just up to, it's like the people who are above me, it's up to them to notice my talent and bring me up. And then when I am there, it's up to me to notice the talent and bring the begets. Come on, begets. But we're gonna be begetting good leaders.
I would just add to that, I know we're over time, but just don't believe the hype and how things get done. I feel like we can rewrite the rules with every team, with every leader. And so when it comes to I'm an art director, or I did this and I'm supposed to do this and naturally I'm supposed to do that. You could be a producer, you could leave this industry, you can work in, in another industry. When you take those rules off, the things that I feel like we've been unduly taught, you allow people to kind of really, really be and kind of flex, like I like to say, in the ways that they want to. And so then you will have more of us at the table that way. And I'm talking over time.
So thank you so much for your expertise. I was inspired by a talk by Cindy Gallup at 3%, I believe it was 2 years ago, where she said, you know, if you want to make a change in the industry, if you're a minority or a woman, go out and build something. And so I've been building my agency, and I'm so inspired by everything that y'all have been saying. And thank you all for coming. If you have any more questions, they'll be around. So.